Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Star Wars Expanded Universe Book Talk with Dorn Geek. I am your host, Dorn Geek. And today, we're going to talk about the second book in the Black Fleet Crisis Trilogy, Shield of Lies. So let's get right into it. Here we go. Yes, we are talking Book 2 of the Black Fleet Crisis Trilogy, Shield of Lies, cover by the amazing Drew Struzan. Just some absolutely incredible art by him all through the New Republic era of the books. Book published in September of 1996. So we're putzing our way through the middle 90s here. Written by Michael P. Cube McDowell. As far as I know, he might have written something outside of the post-Jedi Expanded Universe, but this might be McDowell's only, or Cube McDowell, I suppose. This might be his only attempt at Star Wars books. He doesn't do a terrible job, but I don't know. Timeline, we're at 17 ABY, 17 years after the Battle of Yavin, which puts us 17 years after the destruction of the first Death Star. It also puts us 13 years, well, we'll get to that. 17 years after the destruction of the first Death Star. It puts us 13 years after Return of the Jedi, after the destruction of the second Death Star. I'm sort of focusing here on the Death Stars and on the super weapon idea. There's a reason for that in this one. You'll understand as you read the book. We're also 8 years after the Thrawn books. And I think it kind of gets lost somewhere in there that in the Thrawn books, one of the major things going on was the discovery and use by Thrawn of the Katana fleet. That was the main reason that he needed the cloning facilities. He had some other plans, but that was the main reason. We're also 7 years already after the Dark Empire comics. The Dark Empire comics are the last time we have an old leader. In fact, Palpatine himself, show back up and try to restart the Empire. So we're 7 years already away from the last time that happened. Let's look at the ages of our heroes here. Luke and Leia, they are 36 years old in this book. I think that's significant because remember, Luke and Leia were 19 years old when we met them in episode 4. So we've seen them go now another 17 years forward in their journey. They've almost doubled their age from when we met them. Han Solo, likewise, is now 46, very much should be. Okay, I'm going to say should be at a new point in his life. He's married a woman. He's had a couple of kids. In fact, he's had 3 kids. At 46, has he changed who he is, really? No, not really. That's Lando Calrissian. Now, this is... I'm so glad they brought Lando back and put him in a position in this story to succeed as a character, as far as, like, what would be a good thing to do with Lando. I absolutely love that they've got him in the situation that they've got him in. So my favorite part of the story is the Lando story arc of it. And he's 48 now. So very much in that same Han Solo position of turning a corner in age and career, that sort of thing. And Lobot, the companion of Lando Calrissian, the guy that Lando could count on without question at Cloud City, is 54-ish years old, somewhere around there. And Lobot gets to be, especially this book, Lobot gets to be an amazing part of the story. We have one of our new characters, Akana. I said this in the last book talk. She's vaguely interesting. I don't particularly like the Akana part of the story. That's not to say that other people might not like it, but Akana's 32, so a little bit younger than Luke and Leia. So take that as you will. And then we have another character, Nil Spar. Nil Spar is 49 years old. He's very much that experienced person. And his role in this storyline is pretty interesting. It's not as interesting as the Lando Lobot story arc, but it's pretty interesting. Let's talk about the major places that we are going to visit in this book. The first, most important, Coruscant, the center of the political government, the political everything, right? The center of the political galaxy. And if you're going to talk about government, and if you're going to be the main government, you have to be on Coruscant. We're going to go back to the Kurnocht cluster and see what's been going on there since the last book. There's a lot to get to about the Kurnocht cluster and what went on there as we opened the first book and how things are progressing in the Kurnocht cluster, particularly on one of the planets. I said that last time too, but you'll see. I don't want to spoil too much about what's going on in the Kurnocht cluster and where and everything. I am going to I spoiled the name of the ship last time. Now it has a name, but we're going to be aboard the Mud Sloth for a decent portion of this storyline of all three books. So it's a place that we have to be. That this is, again, the part that I'm not too crazy about in these books, but hey, whatever. And then we're going to be aboard the Vagabond. And aboard the Vagabond is my favorite place to be in these books. I love the story that they have created around the Vagabond and everything to deal with it. Just an absolute wonderful approach to a story, and hints at like things that are going to happen into the future. We're going to go to one actual important planet, which is Prakketh. I don't want to give too much away as to what's going on Prakketh, but be watching for this planet. I mean, you're not gonna particularly miss it. There's some interesting things that go on Prakketh. It is going to be a new planet that we're going to visit. We're going to be in Yvathan space. The Yvatha are a new species that we're visiting, so we're going to have to be in Yvathan space. We're going to have to be talking about where it is and what's going on there, how that is going to affect all of the things happening around us, all of that. Let's talk about major characters and relationships. This book is pretty heavy on the Luke Akana relationship and what's going on with that, how Luke perceives Akana is really important to their story. Now, again, this is the part of the story that I don't care much for, but it's still, I don't know, it's at least vaguely interesting. I just have issues with it. And then we got to talk again. So we started talking about last book, the relationship between Leia Organa Solo and Nil Spar, and who they are to each other and what's going on between the two of them. And we're really going to get into the thick of it in this book. This is going to be a really big thing in this book. We're going to keep enjoying the relationship and the friendship that is Lando Calrissian and Lobot, and how much they can trust each other and their ability to work together to solve problems in kind of like big pressure situations. We saw that on Cloud City, but we're going to see it again and in kind of a new way. And then I always love this relationship. The relationship between C-3PO and R2-D2 is a really wonderful one, and we're going to get to see more of it in this book, and you're going to get to enjoy it just as much as you got to enjoy it in the movies. And in some of the other books, we haven't gotten a lot of R2 and 3PO together in these books all the way through, but we will this time. And then Colonel Pac Picot and Lando Calrissian. And who is Colonel Pac Picot? And what the does he have to do with Lando? And how are they cooperating? How are they working together? Or in some cases, not working together. There was a little bit of it in the first book, but in this second book, it's more. Okay. And then Lobot and his connection with the Kellen civilization, who they are, and what their connection to Lobot is, and really what Lobot's connection to the Kellens is a really, again, the Lando Lobot part is my favorite part of the story, and I love it. Let's talk about the major events going on in this book. Luke's adventure with Akana continues. Okay, we know, we got it. Luke and Akana, and they're on an adventure, and Dorn's not interested. I'm sure other people are going to find it interesting. It's just not for me. And here's another thing that's just not for me, which is Luke beginning to learn, and this is the problem that I have with this part of it, more than anything else, is Luke beginning to learn about a new Force tradition. Not that I have anything against other Force traditions other than the Jedi tradition, but, I mean, come on, seriously, no, I'm just kidding. But just the way this one, what this one is wrapped in is, speaking of that, what the new Force tradition is, at least as far as I'm concerned, is super controversial. Not because the Force is being used in a different way by a different culture. No, that's not it. It's the other part of this and how this really questions a lot of things about what was established about the Force. I don't want to say a lot more than that. We're going to see Leia struggling with a group called the Duskin League. And there's their symbol over there in the slideshow. And I'm not going to tell you a ton about the Duskin League because I want to let you find out about it. Just when it shows up, pay close attention. And then my favorite part of this story, Lando Calrissian and Lobot's adventure. We started their adventure in the last book. We're going to get more of it in this book. Not as much as I would hope, as I would want, but they're trying to balance like these three stories, right? The political story with Leia, the Force story with Luke, and then Lando and Lobot, and the nature of the vagabond. Where did it come from? How was it built? How does that give us a new perspective on things? Really, the vagabond is one of the most wonderful parts to me about these stories, and I really encourage you to like just absorb as much as you can about it. So that's it. That's our book talk on the second book of the Black Fleet Crisis trilogy. It's a little bit difficult to say. The second book of the Black Fleet Crisis trilogy, Shield of Lies. When I talk to you next time, we'll be covering book 3, Tyrant's Test, and we'll be finishing up this trilogy. It's not my favorite trilogy out there. Thank you, everybody. May the Force be with you, and I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.